Doing awesome. And yourself?
Doing well. Thanks for asking. What's the energy like going into this fight week, and how's camp been for you?
Camp has been awesome. No injuries. Feel good. Feel great. Adding tools to the toolbox, and it's ready to get in there to go do it.
It's been about 9 months since you've been last in the octagon. Was that something intentional, or is that kind of one of those things where it just worked out that way?
That's just the way it worked out. When I first started, I was didn't really have a whole lot of money or anything, but now I'm in like a totally different situation. So I'm not like desperate to fight. So it's not like I used to, like every week I'd be texting Jason House and Midman and say, yo, I want to fight. Now I'm kind of expanding my horizons, doing other things. I'm gonna fight this fight, one more. That put me at 20 UFC fights and retire. So I'm kind of like putting things in place to set myself up for life after fighting.
So your main card opener, what excites you most about this matchup against CLD?
I think any matchup is fun. He's a much younger guy. I think that's why the odds are the way they are. Kickboxer, probably the faster guy, but I definitely think I'm the grittier fighter. I like to make the fight ugly, make it get close, and just do what I do and what I've been doing these last few fights.
It's interesting you say that. So when he came in, he was super giddy about getting your name across his desk and talking about how much he's appreciated your style and what you've done in MMA. So when you talk about thinking about retirement and legacy, and you go across somebody that holds you to a high standard, like what does that mean to you?
I've been around a long time, had some wars, some tough fights, seen everything, done everything. So, I think I'm just kind of, I think this is my 19th UFC fight. So I think that, the younger guys who are coming up who, are fighting on local promotions or whatever were, not necessarily watching me, but like watching the sport and some of the older guys that are still around. It's cool to be appreciated like that.
And you mentioned retirement for you. What does life after fighting look like?
I'm gonna have my own gym. I'm gonna run it, coach, teach, that sort of thing. And then I got some real estate too. And then whatever other opportunities come across my face.
Next week, middleweight title. Who do you got, Dreykus or Hamzat?
I think that's a tough one to predict, but I think Duplessis is going to get it. I think that first round is going to be hell. Chimaev, I think he averages a shot in the first 12 seconds of every fight. So I think that there'll be a hell of a storm to weather. But I think since Duplessis got his nose fixed and he can breathe, he's been hell for everybody. So he seems to be the puzzle that, I guess they're both the puzzle that nobody can figure out. But I just think that he's got more ways to win.
Football season is nearing us. Bama football. Are you excited for this upcoming year? What are you feeling like for it?
Yeah, of course. Bama did well last year for a first-year coach, and now he's got this will be his second year. He'll implement his program, get his recruits, his coaches, and things like that. So Bama's tough every year, but I think that this year they'll do better than last, which is saying a lot, and see what they can do when it comes playoff time.
Are you planning to go into a lot of games this year, or?
Yeah. I got a buddy who's got a box. I'm bougie now.
There you go.
I don't sit out in the elements anymore. So, yeah, I can go up there, hang out with them, and eat, and have a good time and enjoy the game.
I know there's a lot that comes to mind when you think of Bama, but is there one memory that sticks out to you that's like that it holds the closest to your heart?
Dude, a lot. I've had 2 main events. I just beat a former world champ. Picked up some bonuses along the way. So I don't know if there's any one in particular. Definitely beating Widman is a highlight. The name, his legacy and all that good stuff. So at the moment, it'd probably be that.
What about for Bama Memories specifically?
Come on, baby. We won a championship. So, that was my senior year against the team, against the school that I wanted to go to growing up, but didn't get a look. So, the end of my college career was, something out of a story.
When you talk about greatness, and talking about Bama, there's so many players that come to mind. But for you, who's on that Mount Rushmore of Bama players?
Shoot. You got to go with the Heisman winners, obviously. Tua, Julio Jones got to be up there, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry. Yeah, dude. They're like four. It'd be hard to narrow it down to just four guys, you know. Every year, you know, they're putting out, you know, 4 or 5 first-round draft picks. You know, they got guys finishing in the Heisman race and winning the Heisman. So, you know, for sure, you know, Nick Saban is the GOAT, you know, and then right behind him is Bear Bryant, who is also a coach at Alabama. So Alabama's just full of legacy and tradition and, you know, guys who are, you know, Hall of Famers and, you know, great players.
And switching gears, I think it was yesterday you posted on your story about Forensic Files and, you know, how it never disappoints. Is that your go-to show right now?
Yeah, I think I've seen every episode that they've ever put out. And when I'm sitting in the hotel, I don't, you know, it's just like background noise, you know?
Right.
So it's always on that HLN network, and it's like running all day long, all night. So it's, you know, even when I'm at home, like I fall asleep to Forensic Files, you know, I watch it in the hotel, and yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but you know, it's a great show, dude.
What are your lineup of shows right now that you're watching?
I'm not really watching anything, like just Forensic Files, really. You know, it's like I said, it's just background noise when I'm, you know, working on the computer at home or trying to sleep or, you know, doing chores and stuff around the house. It's always in the background.
And then final one for me, you know, going into Saturday, going back into the side of the octagon, talking about, you know, this upcoming fight, you know, what is it going to take for you to get your hand raised?
I just got to go out there and do what I've been doing these last few fights. Get in his face, make it dirty, wrestle a little bit, you know, strike on the inside. Don't give him any space, and, yeah, go out there and be me.
Last time we saw you was out here for 310 in December against Widman. So I just want to ask, how good did it feel to put that Widman saga to bed? I know that month might have been long for you, just given how you were forced to withdraw from that November outing, and of course, you know, people had stuff to say given they wanted that Widman, you know, Madison Square Garden, you know, farewell. So how good did it feel to put that to bed after that long month?
I assure you, nobody wanted to fight in Madison Square Garden more than I did. For me, that's like the mecca of, you know, combat sports in general, you know, boxing and MMA. So, yeah, you know, you know, it really hurt to have to withdraw. And, like, I still wanted to fight, but the doctor and everybody was like, nah, you know, made a really big mess on the floor, throwing up. And the doctor was like, nah, you can't. And I was like, all right, but then they, you know, they redid it, ran it back pretty quick. So yeah, it was cool to go out there, be the champion. You know, Widman is, you know, somebody I've looked up to for a long time in the sport. He was a great champion and, you know, had a lot of great fights himself. So, you know, to go out there and beat a legend like him was, you know, you can't really put words to it.
Awesome. And obviously, it's great to have you back here. So now shifting gears to this week with CLD. Last time he lost, it was against a guy that, you know, had more experience over him inside the UFC cage. Do you think he'll go through similar faith this time against you? You know, you mentioned there your 19th fight in the UFC. You've been in there with some of the top of the food chain from the middleweight or from your division.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure at first it'll be a little difficult getting his timing. He's pretty quick, pretty fast, elusive. But I think as the fight goes on, I'll be able to get that timing and, you know, be able to do my own work.
And when people actually take the time to dissect your career and losses, I mean, they'll notice quickly that it's only been against top opposition. So do you think that kind of shows the type of person you are, just always stepping in with some really good fighters, whether up-and-comers or just top veterans of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'll fight whoever. You know, the UFC knows that. I think the fans know that. You know, everybody who knows me knows that. So it's like, yeah, you want to fight him? Okay, let's go. You know, so haven't really said no to anybody. But yeah, you know, I love fighting. I really do. Like everything that goes into the sport. I love training. I love getting up in the morning, going and training. I love showing up on fight week. The only thing I don't like about this sport is cutting weight. You know, it sucks, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way. But when it comes fight time and all that stuff is behind me, like it's, you know, just go out there, have fun, and, you know, I just, you know, thoroughly love and enjoy the sport.
Sure. And I feel like we're used to seeing you on these pay-per-view cards or arena fight nights. So is it cool to maybe just downshift once in a while, come here to the expanding Apex? I know some fighters mentioned they enjoy that home game feel of an Apex fight week. So is that how you feel the same way, or is it something that just doesn't really cross your mind?
I like the fans. You know, I like the fans in there. I like the roar of the crowd whenever you land a solid punch or, you know, pick somebody up, slam them, and, you know, finish a fight and all that. But especially for this fight in particular, I really like the smaller cage. You know, I think that is going to help me more than him. So, you know, when they offered me this fight, you know, I knew that they were fighting in Chicago the next week. Like, you know, when they offered, and I was like, well, can we do it in Chicago? You know, he's got a really cool, dynamic striking style, and, you know, I'm me, you know. So I think that'd be a fun fight for fans. And they were like, nah, we need to fill up this car. And I was not, yeah, okay, cool. Small octagon against a guy who likes to move a lot. So that's, you know, works out for me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, going along that, I was about to say, so do you think with this Apex style cage, you'll be able to close distance more against a guy like him that likes to move around, you know?
Yeah, you know, the cage is a third smaller than the other one. This one's 25, that one's 30, or it's 24 and 30. So, yeah, you know, close quarters is, you know, how my fights usually go and end up. So, you know, it's cool for me.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Eryk, thank you for taking the time. Love the shirt, by the way.
I
always appreciate when fighters just get that brand going. Super
Trying
dope.
to.
We talked with Angie Hill earlier, who also, we were kind of manifesting her gym. Just curious, have to know, when you do that gym, not if, when. Where would it be? What's the name? What would you guys do when you get your shop open?
It's going to be in Vestavia, Alabama. It's a little suburb of Birmingham. It's going to be called Your Boy's Fitness Academy. And we're going to do everything. Like at this point, I'm not really interested in training fighters, just because it's a lot of personalities to manage, you know. But kids, soccer moms, you know, people like that is who I'd like to coach.
Absolutely, and that's a huge demographic. And keep kids healthy, have the families involved. That's a beautiful thing, man. Last for me, there's some fights that fighters are always recognized for. Me personally, one of my favorites is that banger you just talked about, you know, with Widman. Back and forth, the ref let you guys do your thing, multiple chances, almost like a Rocky movie. What fight or fights do people pull you to the side or recognize you at the airport and say, yo, man, that was the one that I'll remember forever?
Probably the most is the Thiago Santos fight. Because for as long as it lasted, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of lull in the action. You know, and it was a great fight. Like, I enjoyed that fight. You know, I didn't win, but, you know, I just think that there's something like, you know, 6 days notice, flew to Brazil. Didn't have to cut a whole lot of weight because we fought at 205, so it was cool. But I love the Brazilian crowd, even though they're never cheering for me because I'm always fighting a Brazilian. You know, I wish it was like that here. Like, if an American fights anybody from any other country, they should boo that person, you know. And they just have a lot of pride in their fighters. But then after the fight, you know, they're all very appreciative and, you know, they're just, you know, great fans. And, like, those are the kind of fights that I like to be in, and those are the kind of fights I like to watch. Those are the kind of fights that fans like to watch. So anybody who's willing to go out there and do that, you know, is I'm with that.
Absolutely, and you could lose a fight, but you win so many fans, it'll just elevate you. And
yeah, I mean, of course you want to win, but at the end of the day, you know, the cards are kind of stacked against you. But we did get fight of the night, so you know that kind of takes a little something off the burn of the loss. But you know, it is what it is, you know.